Welcome back to another episode of Ruth Talks Golf. In this episode, I meet up with Kendel Abrams at Victoria Golf Course in Carson, California. She is one of the youngest guests to be on the show, but she has already done so much. She shares with me how she got into golf young, what it was like playing college golf, and starting her own company. She's living life as a golf instructor now and has so much to share. She's kind of the GOAT. So tune in and enjoy the episode. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ruth Talks Golf. Today's guest is Kendel Abrams. How are you doing today?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Thanks for being on.
Thank you.
So I'm going to spill a secret. This is our second time filming. First time didn't go as planned. We had some hiccups, but we're back. And it's a beautiful, semi-sunny, cloudy day in Southern California.
It's getting brighter.
It just rained, hence the weather. But we are here at
Victoria Golf Course.
Victoria Golf Course. And this is sort of like, it's not your local course, but it's...
No, but it's like starting to become like a home course, quote unquote, because like I come here pretty much every day, if not every other day. And like, yeah, like I feel like my second family is like in the clubhouse. They're like always on the golf course, and like that's the cool part. It's like you see familiar faces, so you start building relationships, and like it's just cool.
That's awesome. I've played here once. The greens are a little rough. The grass is a little rough, but overall, there's like a really nice community here.
Yeah, and it's a really cool track. I mean, I've never seen it because like a lot of people say like back in the day it was like super pristine. I've never seen it in that condition. But obviously I know like eventually it's gonna get back there. And like honestly, I feel like some of the greens out here, honestly, kind of the best in LA County. Fairways need some work, of course.
Yeah.
But like I mostly stay on the practice area because I'm a golf coach, so like I'm not too worried about the golf course.
Yeah. Okay, so greens are good.
Yeah, greens are good.
Oh, okay, yeah. Awesome. So I'd really love to share with our viewer kind of like your experience in golf, how you got into it, what you're doing with it, and any plans you might have in the future for it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So if you could share kind of like how you started in golf.
Okay, yeah. So at this point, I feel like I've been playing for like 16, 17 years, so to speak.
Ooh.
Yeah, it makes
you look very young.
Only 24.
So you must have started young.
Yeah, I did start pretty young, and like not as young as some people are starting, straight out of the womb, like straight in diapers. But I do remember playing like a bunch of different sports as I first started. So like this was like on the back burner, like I only did this like a couple times. And then it kind of took me a while to kind of like fall in love with the game or like see myself, playing like long term or even playing in college. So I think that was the cool part of like when I first started, like it was definitely the social aspect that like got me involved with the game, and then the competitive side like kept me in the game. And now I'm at this stage where it's like half and half, because like obviously with college golf, like not only is it a full-time sport outside of like college, it's like full-time plus overtime. So like you're expected to do work even outside of team practices. But now since I have like more time to myself, more time just like learning about life, like I just realized like in college, like your whole schedule is like given for you, and like you're told to like do different things. Whereas like with life, like life gives you a lot of options, but you've got to be able to like handle those options and then take responsibility if anything like goes wrong or not goes as planned. So.
Okay, so you started like junior high-ish?
No, so
or even younger.
Yeah,
sorry, I can't do math.
I started when I was like 8 or 9 years old.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I didn't actually play my first tournament until I was like 9 or 10. And it was crazy because like it was one of those like 3 to 6 hole type tournaments. Whereas like now, you play 36, you play 72, sometimes you play, 100 plus.
Wait, really?
Yeah. Oh. So like me just starting out and like realizing like, I thought this was the definition of golf.
Yeah.
Compared to now, it's like way different. And I remember in my first tournament ever, I lost in a coin flip, and then like it pissed me off so much because I was like, what kind of sport do you decide like the winner based on a coin flip? But I was like, okay, it's whatever. It's golf. I was like, I'm not too pressed about it. I was like, I've got bigger, because I was playing soccer and a bunch of other things. But once I started like traveling and like competing more, and then I came out here for the first time. This was 2013, so I was 12 years old. Went down to La Jolla to play in the Worlds, and like that just really opened my eye up to golf, because the small town or like the small area in which I'm from, which is like in the Mid-Atlantic area, there's not too many golfers and there's not too many female golfers, but then coming out here and then seeing like the whole world play and like, you know, girls my age, girls a little older than me, girls a little younger than me. And then just to be at the caliber that they were at and just realize like how much potential like I still have and how much like, yeah, it's just like incredible that I even made it to like that point. Like that was pretty big.
Okay, so you're not local to LA, you're not local to California. You said Atlantic area?
Mid-Atlantic. So technically born in Baltimore, raised in Pennsylvania. But I feel like, I always tell my parents this, I feel like they stole me out of the hospital because like I feel like I was supposed to be in California or like somebody in our family is from California and like they never revealed themselves. But I don't know, it's kind of just like the weather, the people, the freedom. Obviously with golf, it helps a lot. Like, I don't know how people still do it on the East Coast of like trying to like balance the whole seasons, but
yeah, they can't golf in like the winter, it turns out.
And like for me, like, don't get me wrong, I'll go to some indoor facilities occasionally, but to do that, you know, for 6 months or like even 3 months straight is like, yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that is wild. That is such a, I mean, I'm from here, so I have obviously sunshine mostly every day. So it's always strange to hear that people can't play during certain seasons. And I'm like, what? How do you do that? But, you know, you take that opportunity to practice.
That's
right?
true. Yeah, that's true.
Okay. So how did you get into golf? Is your family, are they golfers?
No, they're not golfers at all. My mom, she took it up for insurance purposes. So like, and this is what I'm learning. Within any industry in which like, you know, women aren't seen as the majority, obviously you have to like, you know, figure out a way to then, you know, talk with your male counterparts. And like, that was my mom's way of like, okay, let me get in, you know, with golf. And then obviously I'll have, you know, better deals, better connections, a better network to like build off of just because so many guys play golf. And then the same instructor that taught her also taught me and my older brother. So it's like cool to see like full circle moment of like where he, like what he was doing and all his programming and now what I'm doing now, like never saw myself doing this, but like just realizing like he inspired me a lot more than he probably even realized at the time. And then just seeing like where it can grow, because like I know so many kids and like even me growing up, meeting a lot of kids through the program and realizing like we've all taken like different avenues within the golf industry. So it's kind of cool to see like how the golf game is like growing. It's getting a lot bigger, getting a lot more diverse. And yeah, it's cool to watch.
It is. So being that you got into it fairly young, and as you mentioned, it's kind of changed recently. Do you know like kind of like what the catalyst was for this change? Like, because some people will say like the COVID thing happened and then people got into it and then that started the boom.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily COVID. I mean, obviously the COVID thing popularized it because, you know, social media kind of like took off and everybody's on TikTok pretty much. But I think the biggest difference that people like started to see was like first tee. So like technically when I first started with golf, our local area did not have first tee. So it took like a couple years for a first tee chapter to even like come about. But like just seeing like where you start with first tee and like there's so many different like routes and levels and just like different mentors that you interact throughout your time of first tee. Just realizing how much that impacted my life and how much it's impacted other people's lives. And like a lot of people that I talk to now, they're like, yeah, you know, I used to do this junior program called First Tee. And I was like, wait, no way. And then just realizing all the small connections, because like the golf world is small, but it's even like more smaller the more you talk about people. And you're like, wait, you know them, I know them. I don't know, it's just a really good avenue, and like it's a lot bigger than golf. Like I feel like a lot of people, they think like junior classes are strictly about teaching golf. And I feel like with First Tee, it taught me a lot more about like mentorship and like character and values. And that's kind of why I've like taken both sides of it, of like teaching golf, but then also being a mentor to my students. Cause like, yeah, you can't just teach someone like one part of life and then expect them to figure out the rest. Like you got to guide them throughout all aspects.
Yeah, it's so cool that you do that. So I heard the word D1. What is it?
Division 1?
Division 1. Okay, yeah. So I didn't do sports growing up, but I hear that often. So for us who don't know, what does that mean? What does it entail?
Okay, so it's definitely changed my outlook. So I remember in high school, or I guess middle school, I always knew that I wanted to be a D1 athlete, like always knew.
So that's like top tier.
Yeah, pretty much top tier. And like throughout so like in middle school at the time, it was wanting to be a D1 basketball player.
Okay, so basketball was your
first
love.
Like I was doing AAU, was like, yeah. Even though soccer was also a love, it was just like I saw myself playing college basketball. And then my sophomore year, my mentor kind of like pulled me aside and was like, hey, like, I think you've got a really, like, I think you're good at basketball, but I think you're really great at golf, and like you get, a full ride, and like, I mean, you seem to like love it enough to like travel and like continue to practice even when no one's watching. So I was like, yeah, you're right. So I started like looking at different places, and it's interesting because, like I said, 2013 was always attracted to California. So like when I was doing my recruiting process, pretty much the whole Midwest area was like taken out of the picture. I was like, I don't want to be in the Midwest. I only want to be on the West Coast, or I want to be, in the South. And I just remember like looking around, and you realize it's a very tricky process, and it's like, it's a little bit about luck for sure about recruiting. But it's kind of just like where you put yourself at a specific time. So like based on junior tournaments. So like I know they have the Toyota Tour Cup and all those other junior tours out here. The East Coast, it's a lot different. There's only like 4 or 5 major like golf tours out there. So when you're looking at like stats, rankings, scores, all that good stuff, a lot of coaches like they kind of pick they pick their athletes based on different criteria. And like D1 athletes, they're mostly going to like national events, if not like state events. Whereas like the lower tier ones, they're more like, I think a couple came out to like postseason high school championships, and then like obviously the local tours. But most people aren't going, like if they're a high tier school, they're not going to like those local tournaments. Like you've got to have a pretty big field, and that field has to be like mad competitive for you to even like try to get a look at D1 golf. So like realizing, okay, so like here are my options, here's where I want to go, here's where I see myself going. And then realizing also too, like I had the academic side of things. So like I could either go on full ride academic, or I could go on full ride athletic. So that's why I was trying to like balance and see like,
Get
okay.
it, girl.
And I was like, okay, different options. And then you also have to like tell yourself too, okay, so like, let's say this is my dream school for golf, right? In the event that I do get injured for golf, would I still love the college? Would I still be like, okay, this is
you
like,
have to think about
yes,
those
you
things.
do.
Okay.
100% you have to think about that. And then even career-wise, like major-wise, like not necessarily that majors matter anymore, but like the main part of like, some schools have very selective majors, and there's others where you can't like change too much, or like it's very strict schedules, and practice, you got to like figure that out. And then also like coaching-wise, so like there's a lot of coaches, they've either had background, in teaching, they've either had background in like coaching other sports. So let's say like coaching like the swim team or coaching some other sport. So you got to like pick and choose. And then there's also the mental coaches where like, I would say my coach at Howard did a really good job at kind of just like picking my brain and just really like, how do you call it? Like challenging us mentally, because there are a lot of times where like, we're so focused on golf that we see the big picture. And he would kind of just like tell us and like pull us across the side and like tell us stories of like, if you want to be a good golfer, like this is what you got. If you want to be a good person, this is what you got to do. And I like realized that like at the time, it was still kind of like tuning him out, but like also like listening to a couple of things he said, because like obviously they were pretty impactful things. But like realizing like he has gone through so much life that he's just trying to instill just a slight portion on it to us. And then obviously it's transpired into like my entire team. So like when I first started at Howard, we probably had like, I want to say 10, 11-ish players, and every single like player had their own like interest or passion outside of golf. That was like really big, and like it was super like incredible to see, because it's just like, even though we're golfers and like high level golfers, it's like there's something else that we're also like equally talented in, like we could also be doing in the future. So like pulling those two together, and then seeing like the small knit community that we have, and just like the passion that we still have for the game, is really good to see. But I honestly don't even know how we got started talking to this.
I don't know, but I love it because when I think about golf, I think of like, I wonder if it's competitive, because you're competing for positions,
Yes.
schools, all that. But golf itself is a very personal, like competitive game. So
100%.
so what was the experience like? Like, did you have frenemies? Like,
frenemies are always going to be a thing, but you have to realize like frenemies are there to push you. So like even in high school, I was on a co-ed team, right? And with me being the only girl on the team, like obviously the boys, they love to like tease me, egg me on, just like really try to get in my head as much as possible. But I realized like that made me a better golfer like overall, because like the more you learn to like tune people out and just focus on what you can focus on, because like your attitude is like the biggest like thing when it comes to golf. Like only you can change it, and only you can determine how it will be. I think that kind of like carried over to like college golf, and then you start meeting like different people, and like I think that was another thing about like first tee. They taught us a lot about integrity. So like when it comes to the game, like you are responsible for keeping your score, but then also telling if you made any mistakes, made any penalties. So you like learn that like some people they didn't do first tee growing up, so they have different beliefs of like, oh, cheating is okay. And I've just never like thought that was the way to get ahead in life. Like obviously, there's a certain way to do things, and like even if you want to take like shortcuts, like at the end of the day, something's gonna like come in your way, become like a big hurdle or a hassle. So I think that's like the biggest eye opener when it comes to college golf is like not everybody comes from the same background and the same upbringing, but you have to realize like I said, you're only in control of yourself, and like just like stay focused. I think that's another thing too. I feel like a lot of people, their first couple months, it's like a make or break. Like it's like did you really want to play D1 college golf? Did you really want to be here? Like, do you really see yourself dedicating yourself, even if it doesn't have to be professional golf, but dedicating yourself to a craft that's like a lot bigger than you? And at Howard, that's kind of the reason that it brought me to Howard. I realized the picture of like, this golf game isn't just me. Like, even if I wanted to win like 1,000,001 tournaments, just kind of like the exposure, the name, the life stories that I'm going to have like post college, I think that's going to make like the biggest difference. Because I think at the time when I started playing, I don't even think I knew one African American that played college golf. And then fast forward, it was like my sophomore and my junior year in high school, I knew maybe like one or two. And then when you start like looking at like the rosters, just like cross country, it's like there's very, very few people that are like playing college golf, let alone playing D1 golf. So like seeing like, okay, how do I fit myself in that mold, and then how can I inspire the the future generations to be like, okay, even if you don't like golf, right, this is an opportunity for you to still make friends, network, have fun, be healthy. Like there's a lot more to golf than just what people see.
Yeah, for sure. That's crazy that that wasn't too long ago, and we're still not seeing a lot of like people of color in these arenas. It's changing, obviously. Yeah. So that experience, is that kind of what brought you out here to Victoria and what you have going on?
Yeah, so it's like it's multi-dimensional. So like to your point, like there's not too many people that like even like it feels like it hasn't, like obviously we're like making baby steps, like super baby steps. But I think the biggest thing, and like this is where like you start peeling an onion back and you like realize you're like, okay, so even though there's not too many people that are like still playing golf, there's a lot more things that people have pulled from golf, and like that's kind of contributing to like how our society is playing as a whole. So like now I work with the T Divas T Dudes Foundation, and they've been super big and super motivational to realize like this is, I've always known it's like a generational sport, but it's more of a generation type thing where it's like you have an entire like village behind you. So like the kids that I teach right now, I always tell them all the time, I don't care what you do in the future. Honestly, you want to be an astronaut, you want to be a superhero, whatever you want to be, go and be it. Like dream big. I think my biggest thing is making sure that they're good people and they're good citizens. And then they realize that like they always have someone to like talk to, and like they have a corner, and like just somebody that like understands where they're coming from. Because I feel like there's a lot of like disconnect between like older people and younger people right now. But just being that happy like middleman of like, I've been in your shoes, I know exactly what you're experiencing. I was like, and then even with social media, like that's a big role in like young kids' lives. So like realizing like, okay, don't get lost in like all this, flashing lights and whatnot. Like realize at the end of the day, you've got to look at yourself in the mirror. So it's like, however you want to go about your day, you can go about your day, but like just know you got to like lay your head at night and trust and believe that like whatever you've done before then, you're like okay with sleeping with that night. So
yeah, I really love how you're marrying learning golf but also learning life, because they kind of mirror the two, I feel. 100%. Like the idea of like you might have a bad day, but the next day might be great, and then like persevere and keep going. Yeah.
Very true. Yeah.
So what's the age group you're teaching here?
So right now, I believe our youngest is 6 years old, and then the oldest is 17 years old. And it's like crazy because I think the youngest that I've ever taught like ever in my life was 2 years old. So
2?
Yeah, so funny enough.
Why didn't I start when I was 2?
And like this is how it came to be, right? Because like I knew even I was 14 or 15 when I did that junior clinic. So I have a nonprofit called Grass Girls with Golf, and I started that back.
You started that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I started that back in Baltimore. And funny enough, I think the age group at that time was like 8 to, I think it was 8 to 17. And a girl that happened to attend my class, she had a little sister, and wasn't expecting additional people, but I just remember, since it was a Halloween event, there was this 2-year-old that like showed up in like a duck costume.
Oh my God!
So
Stop it.
at first, right, her mom was just expecting her to like stay off to the side, kind of do her own thing, but she actually wanted to play golf with us. So I was like, I can't say no to you. I was like, if you want to play golf, like play golf with us. And I like realized I was like, it's so much more than just like hitting the ball in the hole. It's just like seeing them happy and like seeing them kind of like learn things on their own and like figure out life and experiment. Because like obviously there's quote unquote like a conventional way to play golf, but you'll start learning from little kids like how to swing a golf club differently, or like this works for this person versus
They're
other
natural.
people. Yeah, they're like
Oh my
super
gosh.
natural.
I've seen them on like IG or the TikTok, and they're just like,
Yeah.
And I'm like, how do I do that?
No, my little sister's a super great example, right? And I was telling somebody this like a couple weeks back. So she's a mad competitive dancer, so she like travels for dance. And I remember when I was like 13, 14, we would always take her out on the golf course, or at least while I was practicing, and like she'd be on the putting green either collecting my balls or trying to like block my balls from going in the hole. But nonetheless, like I just knew that I wanted to like just kind of like give her a taste of what golf is. I didn't want to like force it on her, obviously, and my parents didn't want either. They just got her a plastic set and said go with it. But nonetheless, like I realized like she's such a natural to the point where it's like she doesn't have to think about anything. And I think it's because like the fact that like when you become an adult, you've kind of like programmed your body to be a certain way and like move a certain way, whereas like when you're a kid, you're kind of like free going, so like anything kind of goes. And then like you learn how to like adapt and like change depending on what situation you're in. So I always tell little kids and even like parents, like, yeah, there is like a standard or a certain way to like hold a golf club and like stand, but like as long as you learn how to make contact with the ball, I think that's the biggest portion. And like you'll learn how to like develop muscles or develop strength or develop endurance to like swing the way you want to swing. And we're seeing that on the PGA Tour a lot more now. It's like the crosshand grips for chipping, or like even like the really strong grips, or like the claw grips being when it comes to like putting. I think that's like cool to watch, where it's like it's not just traditional boring of like this is how you hold the club.
Yeah.
Like now you have this entertaining piece. And like even I think his name is like Snappy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Funny enough, a kid that I had met when I was like 15 or 16, he did something similar to that. And I just remember being so worried.
Did everyone freak out?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Because like we were at this driving range, and this is also part of First Tee. We're at this driving range where there's trees in the background, but behind these trees are the golf course. So he would swing one-handed and literally, do like this whip around helicopter type move,
Like
pound the ball. Yeah.
Okay.
And he would pound the ball over these trees on a number 16 is what the hole was. And obviously, people would complain and whatnot, but like they'd be like, "Who the heck hit this ball?" Just look at this kid swinging one-handed. But it was so fun because he just started golf, so I was just like, "That's impressive." That like you just take like one small thing and like you make it your own, and then it becomes like really good. Like
yeah. I guess that's what they mean when they say swing your swing, right?
Literally swing your swing, because like that's just how it is.
I'm still figuring out mine, but I've seen some. I don't want to say crazy swings, but like non-conventional swings that work for people. And I've seen it with like the older community, maybe because they don't have that agility and all that.
And the mobility.
Yeah, and mobility. And then I've seen it like with people within my own age group, and I'm just like, how do you figure out that that's what works for you? And it's so strange.
Have you seen tennis players recently?
I don't think I have. Yeah.
I think that's been the biggest change as far as me just looking at the golf swing and being like, okay, that's an okay move.
Okay.
But they come so far inside that I don't know how the heck they make contact with the ball. Yeah, it's like this right elbow is so close to their side, but they're able to create like this side tilt is what we call it in golf. And it works for them. Like I even teach this one kid and he does it. And I'm just like impressed that like, they consistently make contact. Obviously, you'll have to like change up the swing depending on what ball flight you want. But for the most part, just like a stock standard shot, like they've kind of got that down pat.
When you watch someone swing, can you tell if they played baseball or tennis
100%,
or like
100%.
any other type of sport?
Yeah,
That's
100%.
funny.
Yeah.
How can what is it?
So like baseball players, they tend to like fall back. So like a lot of their like momentum and everything is kind of like to hang back. So like really good at like with drivers. Irons, inconsistent. But tennis players, like I said, they just have this very like super tight knit like rotation that's happening with their abdominal muscles. And then even like soccer players, hockey players. Hockey players are really good with their hips. I would say they're probably the easiest to teach golf.
Yeah.
Baseball players, they've got a lot of speed, upper body strength. But yeah, just like one of those like things working on finish. That's a big thing that we always work on with baseball players.
Wow, that's so cool. That's so funny that you can tell. Because
Yeah.
I can tell, and like I said, I'm not a very sporty person, but I can tell. I'm like, oh, that person's played baseball. I have a friend who plays tennis. She transitioned to golf, and she ended up being a lefty. She's right-handed, but because of tennis, she plays lefty. So I'm like, oh, that's so funny.
Is she really good at the backhand?
I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I was gonna say like
she's a good player.
And honestly, I think righties should have like. Whoever invented golf, I think right-handed people should have picked up left-handed clubs.
Oh, maybe I should try that.
I just feel
that's
like
your dominant.
yes,
leading.
and all your muscles are on that side. So if you're gonna finish on that side, it just makes more sense.
Maybe that's what I should try.
Yeah, that's what. I mean, I think, and it might be early. I've always told this to people. At 50 years old, I'm like completely changing over to lefties. But it could be at 35, could be at 40 years old. I've done it in some of my classes, so I have a couple lefties that come. And like sometimes it's a hit or miss. Like sometimes it'll be very pure, like I'll surprise myself, and other times I'm like, yeah, this is why I'm not a lefty.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's good. That's an option for people.
It is.
You don't have
absolutely.
to stick to whatever
facts.
hand you have. Okay. So you mentioned that nonprofit you started. What was it called again?
It's called Grasp Girls with Golf.
Grasp Girls with Golf.
Grasp with a P.
Grasp.
Yes.
Grasp.
Yeah.
Girls
with golf.
with golf.
Yeah.
Okay. And that came about after college?
No. That was
a long time ago?
middle school, really.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
you were like young, on a mission to change golf?
As my
Who does that? That's impressive.
Yeah, as one of my best friends would always tell me, she's always saw me as being an entrepreneur or being creative and like doing different things, and like a lot of people now, they're like telling me, they're like, you should just go back to like some of the stuff you used to do like back in the day, and I'm like, yeah, maybe in the future, because like I've learned kind of having this like business that I have right now. It takes a very crazy person to be an entrepreneur. Like, like you gotta be locked in, 10 toes
Shout
down.
out
Like, there's
all entrepreneurs.
there's no backing out of this.
Yeah.
But you like realize, and I've taken a couple entrepreneurship classes in college. You got to find that like happy medium of things, of like being realistic and then being super out there to the point where like you might go insane yourself. But nonetheless, when I was 13, 14, it came about because it was Girls Golf of Baltimore, so it was like a chapter in Baltimore that was out of the girls golf program. They were like discontinuing, and funny enough, and like I look back at these videos now, and like I'll show you afterwards. One of the ladies, she was an LPGA professional, and at the time, like didn't put two and two together. Never really had heard about the process or even like knew what it took to be an LPGA professional. But I just remember like she played a super pivotal role in like me sticking with golf and then me coming up with the nonprofit. So when I came up with the idea, it was really just to keep my friends close knit. Like all the people that I met through golf, it was like, okay, this is our way to like still hang out, still meet up, like still have fun. And I knew most of them, like they weren't really like on the competitive side, but they loved to just like come out and just like chit chat. And like, if you know me, like I'll talk someone's head off.
Yeah.
So like it was good for me to have someone to talk off with. But nonetheless, like I said, that 2-year-old came and I was just so shocked, and I like realized I was like, this is so much bigger than what I see it right now. And I kind of had to put it on pause, especially when I did college golf, because like I said, it's a full-time job. But the opportunities that we did for like volunteering and just kind of like philanthropy, it was like heartwarming, because like you realize you're like, wow, these kids like really appreciate us, like taking time out of our days and like just sharing the love that we have for the game with them. But then fast forward, post college, I was like, yeah, like I really want to teach. I love teaching. Yeah.
And so the people that were a part of this, were they just not exposed to golf and you saw it as an opportunity to expose it to them, or more so an extension of what they already had going on?
Yeah, so there's like a good portion like they had never been exposed to golf, and then there was a good portion that like whether or not they came to maybe like 1 or 2 first tee classes, they're like, and like girls golf is like super unique, where it's like you don't have to be part of first tee and you don't have to have any golf experience. Like you can then just show up to a class, and like we've even had like Girl Scout groups, I mean, you name it, just different type of girl groups come out to like a girls golf program and get to experience like, okay, this is what golf is, but like this is also what like golf and the social aspect is. So just kind of like learning like, bonding, sisterhood, building confidence, building self-esteem. It's a lot bigger than, like I said, just swinging a golf club. Yeah.
That's so cool. And I keep hearing you say first tee. That's something I never did.
I'm gonna keep plugging them out there.
So share what that is and why it's important.
Yeah. So First Tee is a nonprofit. It's nationwide. Actually, I think it might be globally at this point.
Because I saw a poster somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, funny enough, it's like this very small niche like network that has kind of like touched so many people, as far as like just teaching them the game of golf, being very great mentors to them, kind of just changing the way in which we see society as a whole. So like how it first started, it was kind of to like reach out to people that were in underrepresented communities, like just kind of like, like rough communities, so to speak. But just being that bridge of like, hope and like there's access and opportunity involved with golf. So that's kind of how it like started. And then it's kind of like transformed into like, you still have, that whole like giving back and doing outreach and whatnot, but now it's like there is a slight competitive part of like learning the game and like building good habits and like just being a lot more than like who you were yesterday. So I think that's like the biggest portion. And then with me having met all the people that I met, because like I said, there are very few girl golfers that I met in my area, but like having been to like exposed with First Tee and like going nationwide and like seeing like, oh, there's girls in California, there's girls in Texas, Florida, and seeing their passion, like just like, I don't know, it kept me motivated and being like, okay, even if I don't do this in college, right, like I still have best friends and I've still built a community and like a support system. And like, I mean, still to this day, I think I'm friends with like 95% of them.
Oh, that's amazing.
And yeah, like the only reason like some of them are not like they're just not on social media anymore, but like that's like
wait, everyone's on social media.
See, you would think this, right? But what I've realized is like, and it's like a fine like divide between my friend group. So like there's some people that completely like they took away their social media, like no social media at all. And I'll like tell them things and they're like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, never mind, forget about it. Then there's the other side, and I'm like directly right in between. Then there's the other side of people that are on social media. They can tell me anything that happened like within the last like hour or so. And I'm looking at them like, how the heck do you have this much time on your hands? And then I like realize I'm like, well, their phone is always going off. So like they're always checking updates and whatnot. But yeah, some people have just kind of like leaned into their life of like life without social media. And I'm like, maybe someday. But I think just like in the position that I am and just like the position and the goals that I have, I want to make sure my visibility is one there present, like accurate information is getting out there, and just like being a positive role model. I think that's the biggest thing is like you have so many people that try to like steer the narrative in a certain direction, and I want to make sure like the story is always correct and it's always positive, and like kids see it as more of a positivity thing rather than a negative thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel you on the social media thing because I'm on the side of like I'm constantly on because I'm constantly responding because I do believe social media is a great tool. You get to decide what voice you give out.
Facts.
And what you're showing, right? So it's definitely a great tool, but there is a fine balance between like being, because my friends will tell me like, are you really on your phone right now? And I'm like I have to respond. I have to feed the algorithm. So totally, but definitely it is a good tool, and that's how I got to learn about you.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Christine Pavo, she had shared,
lovely,
about you and what you were doing, and I was like, oh, that sounds amazing because, as you mentioned, there's not that many women golfers in the community. I mean, they exist. They're there, but they're not. Breathing. Yeah, we're breathing, but not too many are making moves or are involved with making changes within golf. So it was nice and refreshing to hear about you.
It was crazy enough because how I even met her. I was at Griffith Park just like randomly, and I think I either just finished up my round or I was about to go out, and she was with a couple other folks. But they kind of just like had all approached me, and you could just tell like they kind of like lit up when I just shared like just as like a spiel about me, and they were like, wait, no way, like we got to stay in touch, and we like exchanged contact information and so forth. But then just realizing about like relationships and whatnot, and like even though you are, you know, following someone, you don't know them, you know, to like some full extent. And then I think we hopped on a call together, and she shared more about like, you know, her passion and what she's like truly, you know, about, and like what she wants to, you know, expose to the world and expose to social media. And I like realized, I was like, it's so weird how like people just, you know, come into your life and like you don't realize that they can be like such a big role, and like they have, you know, the same mindset and the same values, but just realizing that you can always learn something from someone no matter who you meet. So that was just like kind of beautiful to see that like that connection happen.
Yeah, it's weird coming in as a new golfer. It's been interesting to see like how this community, like you mentioned, it's a small community. It's even tinier when you get to know people, but it's so great. There's so much opportunity in golf.
There is
you know?
a lot of
It used to be this sport that was only afforded to certain people, and that's changed. And that's one of the exciting things for me is like I came into golf at a time when there were more people of color. There were more genders out there enjoying golf, different classes and all that. So it is nice to see.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
very refreshing. So I love that within golf you can network, and there's just so many people doing cool things.
And I'm excited for the future, or really just the next couple years, because I can just see how like the golf world is growing, and like even you look at it from like a fashion standpoint. When I was super young, like, and everybody, I feel like everybody has gone through this point, or like if you're at this stage in life where like you've been playing golf, you know, for over a decade, there was definitely this transition of like we would wear like these shorts that would go down to our knees, or like khakis, or like plaid, and oh my gosh. Don't get me wrong.
Cute.
Plaid is just, it's not for me. It might be for some people, just not for me. But I just remember like looking back at those photos, and I was like, what were my parents thinking? I was like, this is just like, this is a wild, like, you know, time to be alive. But then like seeing the transition of like, you know, now we're, not even the high socks, like it was killing me. But yeah, just seeing the transition of like now golf being more of a, you know, actual sport, and actual like athletes are now playing it. So like you have the tennis skirts, and you have the tennis outfit, and like all these other sports are now playing a super big role in how like golf apparel is like transforming. And I know like even surfboarders and skateboarders and snowboarders, they're playing a really big role in like the design of things. So like before, you know, you would just be like certain color scheme, and like, you know, everything was pretty like standard, boring, like it just was one color. And now they have like, you know, different gradients and different designs, and like they're just pulling so much more than like what I saw golf is. And I think that's what's gonna keep growing the game and keep making more and more people interested that like never were interested before. But yeah, it's just like one of those things where it's like the fashion industry is growing. I know like slowly but surely we're gonna get more and more people that are, you know, obviously women working within the golf industry. So like I just saw this video, I guess it was like a couple of days back, and it was a woman speaking about being a head golf professional. And I remember when I was working at Pebble, it was like one of those experiences where I was like, you know, I kind of see myself working as a head golf professional. And like obviously I've taken a slightly right, could circle back and, you know, go that direction. But you like realize like, I don't think I've ever seen a head golf professional that's a woman. Like it's like it's kind of bizarre. And then even just like, you know, people working in the pro shop, or caddies, for example, that's another big push that's been happening. But yeah, there's more and more women that are starting to enter this golf industry, and that's what's super cool, because like we're not alone anymore. Like there's more people that are out here and supporting and like wanting to learn about it.
Yeah, that's nice. Going back to the fashion, one of the things I noticed when I started, I was like, these looks are terrible. I'm like, why is it the skirt to my knee? Which is cool. Some people rock it, right? You know, but for me, I'm like, I kind of want to look cool, you know? And then I started learning about like some brands that are coming out, and, you know, that's been exciting to see. There's a few handful. Sierra Madre, I don't know if you've heard of them.
Yep, I have heard of them.
They're women-owned, small brand. Very cool stuff. Very like basics, top notch. You look good out there.
Absolutely.
Foral is another one.
Okay.
They seem to be like a bigger brand. I think they're backed up by like a pro golfer. But yeah, and even then, I think that's not enough. Like, I want to see more. I want more brands to come out.
And I don't know if, well, since you're a new golf, you probably haven't been to the PGA show. It's like golf on steroids.
Oh, it just happened
Yeah.
this week.
So it happens every single year.
Yeah.
But and every single year is different. But it's really golf on steroids because, like, you go to a golf course, right, and, like, you see certain things and you're like, okay, this is just how, like, golf is supposed to be, right? But, like, when you go to the show, you realize, like, how the creations start to come about and how people make decisions and how, like, you know, this golf course gets this versus that golf course getting that, or, you know, even which apparel lines start to, like, make it out. But, like, long story short, it's this really cool, like, experience of, like, the entire golf community or, like, golf professionals, like, coming together and, like, reconnecting and reuniting and, like, being like, okay, you know, like, how are you doing? Like, I have this connection for you. I've got this business plan for you. This worked for my business. This could work for your business. So that sort of thing of, like, bridging the gap, because I think that's the biggest divide between the West Coast and the East Coast. Like, East Coast is definitely more traditional and old school, whereas, like, a lot of the golf course, like, still to this day, a lot of the apparel that I would wear on the East Coast, I couldn't wear on the East Coast. So, like, it wasn't until me moving to the West Coast and I was like, I can wear whatever I want. Like, it is what it is. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like, they're very, like, just kind of like back in time where, like, they truly believe that, like, the traditional wear, it must be worn. It can't be worn anywhere else. And I get there's a certain, like, look that you kind of want to, you know, appreciate and, like, hold true to. But at the same time, when you start thinking about, like, what people are comfortable with and what they'd feel most confident with, that you definitely have to be more open to that as a person.
Yeah. So East Coast is more traditional.
Way more traditional.
I mean, I love a collar. I love collars. I love mock necks. I love looking put together. I do love that about golf. It's got, like, a class.
Yes, it does.
It's classy, right?
It does.
But I love it when I can see people's personality through their apparel, through what they wear. Yeah.
I guess I never told you the story. There's this guy I met. It was either in La Jolla or Encinitas. In Goat Park, love that place. If you ever go there,
played
amazing.
It once. Hard courts.
Definitely, you know, make sure you, like, train yourself a little bit. Don't just start, like, bed rotting or, like, couch sitting and then you're like, okay, I'm ready for the golf course. Like, Goat Park is one of those you're gonna get a workout as well. But long story short, there was this guy, and his golf bag was made of his jeans. So he personally made this bag where it's like, you see, like, the jeans make the bag, and it's a Sunday bag, mind you. Okay. The belt is the strap. He's got, like, buttons and all these other contraptions on the thing. And then he was just telling me this long story of how he showed up to a golf course one time wearing these jeans, and they said, you know, you can't wear jeans here. And he was just, like, you know, so appalled and just like, what are you talking about? And he comes from, like, a surfing mindset, so he's just like, yeah, what?
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then even the same thing with the whole collar shirt, right? So, like, most surfers, they tend to wear, you know, just polos. So what he ended up doing, he came back, still had a polo on, but he ended up, like, cutting out the collar and, like, the buttons and, like, putting it over top of the polo just to say, like, oh, I have a collar. And, like, you know, like, you got to, like, let me go on the golf course now. But I was just thinking, I was like, yeah, why is that just, you know, a thing nowadays? I don't know.
Yeah. But what about this bag?
Yes, it's just
that's smart.
Yes,
that's
I'll have
genius.
to show you this bag, but yeah, it's his jeans. Like, literally, you look at it and you're like, he didn't use any other material. It's just strictly the jeans and the belt, like I said, and, like, that makes the golf bag. So he's got, like, the compartment for, like, the balls and whatnot, and then he's got tees and, like, he tricked it out for sure.
I'm trying to figure that out because I've been wanting, like, a Sunday bag, a smaller bag, just to carry, you know, for a quick round. And I haven't wanted to splurge on anything yet, but, like, I love that. DIY jean bag.
Or maybe, like, a corduroys would be nice too. That would be a nice, like,
for the fall
texture.
winter
Yeah.
look. Yeah. I like that. There's so many creative people in golf, and yeah, I can't wait to see what else that brings.
Absolutely.
So I know you mentioned you were teaching, like, the youth. Do you also teach adults?
I do.
Like myself?
Yeah, so fingers crossed that this class still happens. Not really sure what the weather and Mother Nature is feeling today.
It never rains in LA, but...
But yeah, no, I do teach adults, and let's see, started, like, full-time teaching back in, so, like, late May, so to speak. But all to say is, like, I remember when I first started, I wasn't sure what to expect with my first class. It was kind of like, I posted on probably, like, 1 or 2 different channels, and then was kind of just like, you know, whoever I get. And considering I'm not from LA too, it was also just like, I really got to keep myself, like, open in the options. But yeah, I remember my first ever class, there's like 12 people showed up, and I was like,
That's a
that's
a great number.
I was like, oh my gosh. I was like so worried. I was like, I don't know how this is going to go. Because I was like, I was not and then there was a couple people, they like trickled in, you know, a little bit later than our time of making it over to the chipping area. But I just remember like everybody had different backgrounds and everybody had cool stories. And I always ask people when they come, you know, what even inspired you to like try out this class, or, you know, like try out golf, or like, what do you like about golf? And it's cool to hear like the different stories of how some people have never tried golf, some people have gone to Top Golf, some people played when they were super young, you know, kind of either grew out of it or just like got injured and now they're like, you know, trying to get back into it. But you just learn like all the different aspects of like people's different lives, and then it's a really cool aspect. Like I said, people will come into your lives and you'll have no idea why they come into your life. But like I have a couple students right now, and they're like making me see the world so different right now. So like, and I just made a post like I guess it was yesterday. I don't know when I made the post. But like the caption is just like evolving as a golf coach, and like it really is like I'm evolving like real time right now, where it's like I had this whole mindset back in May when I had this whole idea of like the class and whatnot, and now I see it so much bigger than my head right now. So yeah, just trying to keep my head on the straight and like be patient, and just realize when it's gonna come, it's gonna come. I don't have to rush anything, because yeah, everything that's meant to be will be. So
Yeah. So who's easier to teach, the kids or the grown-ups?
it's a tough one, because like kids are so funny. When I tell like, and they'll take your mind off of golf, because like you'll start realizing like you don't need to train them to be like a Tiger Woods. Like if you've heard stories about like Tiger's dad and whatnot, I'll never train a kid like that. But like you just realize like they're here to have fun. So I think that's the cool thing about golf. It's like, yeah, like I'll have a certain agenda, but that agenda always gets changed, because with kids, like, you know, they're always wanting to do different things. Whereas like the adults, it definitely makes me grow as an instructor, because like I said, everybody has a different like blueprint, makeup, DNA type structure. So not everybody's coming in here as an athlete. And like with me having started as an athlete, getting into this sport, like realizing how much stuff that I did not know about the golf game, or how much stuff like, you know, when it comes to holding a golf club, like you're just completely clueless if you have like no like, you know, background in like anything. So I have to like translate or kind of like convey my words in a certain way to make it seem like it's super simple and like, you know, anyone can do this. But just realizing like I'm kind of learning as I'm going. I'm also super young as well. But as a golf coach, you're always like, I'll be 85 years old still learning, because the golf swing is always changing. Philosophies are always changing. Equipment is always changing. Technology. It's just like there's so many things that you just kind of have to stay on your P's and Q's about. But yeah, it's like me and the student, it could be a private lesson, it could be a group lesson. Like I realize we're all a team. So like whatever, you know, happens, it's like even if they feel down about themselves, I'm going to be their biggest cheerleader, because I'm rooting for them no matter what. And I hope that all my students, you know, stick with the game, even if they don't happen to take any more classes, they don't happen to, you know, do it full time. It's just one of those things where like nice casual sport. You can do a date night, nice friend outing, birthday party. Oh my gosh. Love me some birthday parties. I do.
Me and my friends are always doing birthdays. I'm like, girls, stop. I can't. But it's so much fun.
It is really fun. Yeah.
It's not always, I mean, it's nice to be competitive, but sometimes it's nice to just have a social round.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So, I mean, you mentioned having to simplify it. You know, how do you simplify golf to someone? Does it hit the ball? Like, you just hit the ball, make it go straight?
Well, I think the simplification happens because, like, you know, golf, it has layers. So it's like, you could definitely teach from the technical aspect of like, oh, I want you to get into this angle, and I want your wrist to hinge this way, and I want your back to turn this way. And like, so to speak, I mean, yeah, if they're a robot, you could tell them to do things like that, and they might do it like that. But as humans, right, we've kind of like adapted based on like previous experiences. So like I'll relate it to, even if they haven't played a sport, like, you know, sweeping a broom, or like, you know, putting a nail with a hammer, like something along those lines to make it more like seamless of like.
So things you do already.
Yes. Okay. Things you do or you've like seen people do, just so that it makes it a lot easier and makes it seem more realistic. Because one of my students this past week, she was like, man, this game is so hard. And I was like, I mean, yes and no, like, so to speak, like, you'd be surprised how much more difficult we make it seem. Even when I taught her how to hit a driver, she's like, no way, it's this easy. And I was like, that's why I was saying when I first started golf, I don't know how I learned the game, like just to hit because I was natural with the driver. But it's just like when you get out of your own head, you become a lot better at the game rather than you start thinking too much. And it's like, yeah, your body can't move like that.
That's my problem. I'm thinking of what I watched, what someone told me, what my last instruction said, and I'm just like, okay, go. And then I do it, and then I black out, and then I'm like, where'd it go? And then people will be like, well, you did this with your hip, or you didn't, you didn't do that. And I'm just like, why can't I remember that when I'm actually doing it?
Yeah, and the tricky thing is golf is a game of opposites. So someone could tell you to keep your head still, or don't, stop moving your head, or do this with your hip, do this. But a lot of times you kind of have to tell a person to do the opposite for them to actually get it or convey it. But then you also realize, like I said, kids, they've learned how to hit the golf ball without the traditional way. So even though, people have seen on social media or they've had a lesson in the past or somebody's told them this, that, and the third, it doesn't apply for everyone. And that's what you have to be super mindful of. It's people have, their limitations and obviously mobility as well is another issue sometimes with people. But you kind of have to you have to meet them in the middle, meet them where they're at rather than try to build up, from ground zero and then be like, okay, now since you're, my project, this is how I want you to move. Just try to figure out where they're at and then go from there.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't want you to spill your teaching secrets, but when you meet an adult who is trying golf for the first time, what does that first lesson usually look like?
A lot of fundamentals. And then just making them realize that, what they... I shouldn't say it's an insane asylum, right? But it's one of those... it's a roller coaster, for sure. Even me having played, 16, 17 years now, it is always going to be a roller coaster because one day you might be really feeling... You're like, okay, I got it locked in. Let's say this is, right before a tournament, right? And then, the day of the tournament, you're like... It's I've never played golf before. And you have those moments. I still have those moments nowadays where I'm just something is off, something is weird. But you realize that routine is super important. Going back to your fundamentals, your headspace, extremely important. If there's something that's happened in your life or is currently happening in your life, that can play a lot bigger role than you think. So just kind of remembering you're in control of your own life and your attitude. But then just I always teach 5 senses as well. And that's actually a secret, but it's what.
Okay. We're not going to reveal that one. You have to join her class.
Yeah, you got to get with the kid to get all the secrets, but I'll leave it at that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, there's just so much going on when it comes to swinging a club.
But I'm telling you, it really is just simple if you free up your body.
It is.
But that's the same thing with life, right? You have to free up yourself. You can't just be in this one mold where you're trying to fit into a box because nobody fits into a box. Everybody's different.
Yeah. So be patient with me, people.
Super patient. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just I think that's another thing too. It's a lot of people, they're looking for the perfect golf swing, and there's no such thing as a perfect golf swing, or they're looking to always hit the ball perfect. But you've got to remember, life is about taking positive pieces out every day. Even today, I'm thinking, I could be on the East Coast with snow right now, but I'm here in SoCal enjoying the sunny, warm, semi-warm weather.
Yeah.
And just having to be on the podcast with you right now. I think you've got to always pull something positive out of whatever you're doing.
That's true. It's just hard with golf.
But I'm telling you, some people, right? I've legit seen them not hit the ball at all, right? And for somebody that's oh my gosh, how can you not hit the ball? But for some people, it is a challenge. But just realizing hey, you hit the ball forward, you hit the ball, a certain distance, your turn was better. Just always telling my students, there's something positive that can always be taken. Because the moment you get hard on yourself, it ruins your golf game.
So true, so true. I love that you reframe it for them because for me, I get very frustrated and sometimes I can get a little whiny and I acknowledge that and I'm aware of it and I work on it, but I can't help but get frustrated.
Yeah.
And then once I'm frustrated, it's it's game over.
No,
Yeah.
true. And I think that's the cool thing about being, because I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, you're a golf instructor. And like, yeah, I guess that's like part of the job criteria, but like it's more like a golf coach. So like even if you were to see somebody like a life coach or like a therapist or like something along those lines, like you need somebody to be, you know, in your corner or like cheering you on from the background or just like you said, reframing your mind. Because that just makes you a better person overall. It's not just so much of like, oh, this is how I hit the ball and like my score defines me. Like if I could tell you how many times I would go out on the golf course and like after the round I'd be completely like miserable, and then looking back at it and I was like shooting some of the best scores like ever, and I was like, I was so hard on myself for no reason, like literally no reason at all. Like
Yeah.
yeah,
It's all up here.
no, it is. It just your matter of perspective too, because
Yeah.
like I mean, like I said, the more competitive that you play with other folks, you realize like there is a different caliber of golf, so to speak. But just remembering, like this is supposed to be a fun sport. Like you're not
Yeah.
playing for the Masters out here at Victoria. Like,
It's not Squid Games.
no, it's not. Like you're gonna still be the great human, wife, husband, whoever you go back to. Like
Yeah.
you still got a life outside of golf.
I noticed with a lot of the more seasoned golfers that I've met, they all have that positive mindset that you have. They're all like philosophical. They're like, life is beautiful. They like, and I'm just like, I'll get there one day. But I do notice, like yesterday, I played around and I prayed. I made a par.
Nice.
I'm instead of double pars, I'm doing like double bogeys,
Okay.
triple bogeys. So that's an improvement
Nice.
for me.
Absolutely.
And
yeah.
and while I was like very critical of myself with my irons yesterday, I was like, you know what? Let's take a look at the putting.
Yeah.
I'm doing okay.
No, for real,
so I'm
for
like, you
real.
know what? No, this is good. I reframed what was going on in my mind, and I'm like, no, this is good. This is progress.
Exactly.
And it's nice because I have, and I think most golfers have like a little community that cheers them on, like you mentioned. Everyone kind of cheers each other on for the most part. Everyone I've met is very
sure.
like kind, and they celebrate the small wins, even the smallest wins.
Yeah.
Like everyone's there for you.
Absolutely.
It's so strange. I'm not used to it.
Yeah, I mean, having the different levels, like I said, that golf comes with, like you've got to realize, where you fit in, where you don't fit in, and then just like who you want to be around. Like I know people, they love to trash talk, they love to gamble when it comes to golf, and then you've got the people that just love to drink and love to have fun and like make it a social aspect. So like figuring out, where is your community, where are your people at? That's the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely, there are all kinds of people out there. They enjoy golf differently.
They do.
And I've loved getting to meet all kinds of them. It's been fun. Yeah. Yeah. Are you golf? Like, I know you're an instructor, but do you actually golf like on your free time? Do you spend any time golfing?
Especially like this year. This year has definitely kicked it in even with the fire situation. It's definitely kicked it into high gear because I have some students, so like boys, they love to trash talk. And they're always testing me. So, like, every single time I turn around, they're like, Coach Kendel, I bet you can't hit this shot. Coach Kendel, you're not making that putt. Coach Kendel, I bet I can hit it further than you. And, like, obviously, they're growing. So, like, testosterone's kicking in. They're reaching puberty almost. But, like, I love to humble kids. So, like, I have to put them in my place and, like, realize I'm like, listen, I'm not just any golf coach, right? Like, I am Kendel. And so we have this like code name that I can't reveal, but like sometimes the kids will like say it. And it's just like funny because like, you have to put kids into that place of like, okay, I am your like friend, but I'm also your golf coach. So like there has to be, some level of respect and like, yeah, we can have fun at times. But just realizing like, hey, I'm on your team at the end of this day. Like even if I'm hard on you and like there's some kids that I'm like, a little bit more hard because I know the potential that they can reach and I know their goals. So like they've shared with me like, hey, this is where I want to be, whether it be college golf, whether it be on the tour. And like I'm trying to make sure that I'm doing the necessary steps and like seeing based on their background, where can I push them? Like where are their limits? What are they still struggling with that we can improve on? So that's my biggest thing. And like, yeah, I still play a lot of golf because my first professional event was last year. And like I want to build on that from last year because like coming back into the whole competitive side of things, I realized how much I like missed it and just, the level and the intensity that it takes. So you can't I think I started training for that like a month prior.
What event was this?
It's LPGA Professional Championship. So it's a qualifier for the KPMG.
Yeah.
But yeah, nonetheless, I just realized I was like, okay, definitely got to put myself in more events, but then just got to like update like my level of training, because like before, you know, in college golf, you play pretty much every single day. You hit about, I don't know, 100 plus balls, and you play like 100 some holes every single week. So like you're always there. It's not just like, you know, you take any days off. Whereas like now that like I'm in this adult life, like there are some days that I take off because I realize I'm like, okay,
We got things to do.
yeah, bigger things in life.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like realize, and like even nowadays, and I think that's kind of what's helped my game, because I used to tell people all the time, it's like I actually play better golf when I like don't practice like too often, like when I actually like take time to like rest and like refocus my brain. So like right now I'm super big into running right now. So not necessarily training for a marathon, could be, but I was telling my friend this the other day. I'm not quite at that stage of like competitiveness where I want to go like full throttle, where I want to sign up for as many marathons and, you know, try to be the top of the top. It's more of like learning to love running and like learning to appreciate the self-improvement and the self-care that I'm getting from it. And then just taking in the scenery. Like I've learned so much more about my own community just running around it, and realizing like, wow,
How
you
cool.
don't see a lot of things when you're driving in a car. Like
No,
you don't.
not in LA.
Yeah.
And are you a part of any run clubs? Because run clubs are like super big in LA.
They are. And like shout out to Walk Good. They also changed my life a lot. Just like, because we have such a big group. It's like 70, 80-ish people that come out. But just realizing that, like, you know, there are some different walks of life, but for the most part, like, everybody's there just to like have fun, get to know each other, and everybody's so kind and they're so like motivating. And there are different, you know, levels and paces that you can go at. But just realizing that we're all in here like together as one. So even if, you know, you have the really fast people that finish up first, right, they're cheering you on at the end. So like when you're like absolutely dead and you don't want to keep going anymore, you see them just like cheering. You're like, okay, I got to keep pushing through, because like why else would they be clapping? Like they don't want to see me,
I
you
don't
know,
want
stop
to
right now.
disappoint them.
Yeah, no, for real. But they're lovely
Yeah.
people, like second family as well. So.
Okay, so you're a golfer, but you do other things.
Yeah,
you have a life
do a
of
lot of
your
things,
own.
honestly.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned that you do best when you balance. Because I would think the more you practice, the more you spend time doing it, the more dialed in you're in. But sometimes that's not the case.
Yeah, no, and I think that's kind of why, like, some of my counterparts or some of the girls that I used to play growing up with, you know, they kind of got burnt out, because it kind of becomes tiresome, especially when you, like, want something so much, but you can't control anything in golf. Like, it's always a game of just, like, adapting to situations. But just realizing that, like, I've learned the more you stay athletic, the better your golf game's going to be. So, like, even besides running, like from hiking to swimming to surfing, like the million other things that I do outside of golf actually makes my golf game better. And yeah, just it builds your character. Like it really makes you see like, okay, wow, this is the type of person, this is how I react in different circumstances and situations. And then this is how I can better my own golf game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you got to be like a well-rounded individual.
You do. You definitely do.
And being fit, even slightly fit, helps.
Immensely.
Yeah. I'm learning, yeah.
I don't know how John Daly does it. I think he's lying to the public.
Right. I'm like, I want to be the John Daly of like ladies. I just want to show up with no shoes on and just hit it 300 yards.
Yeah, but I think you kind of have to, like, same thing. He's like an onion. You got to peel back the layers and realize, like, he was also, like, he has a baseball background as well. So, like, it wasn't like he just kind of, like, came out of the womb, was like, I did nothing. I just had a natural talent. Like, he definitely did train himself to be a certain way and, like, just perform under certain pressure. So, like, that's the thing. Like, one of the stories that Tiger used to tell, and he'd work, like, crazy hours, like, from working out to practicing to playing golf. And then you see John Daly in the clubhouse just, you know, drinking away and just having a good old time. But John Daly would beat him in those tournaments and not practice. Like,
I feel bad for Tiger.
No,
like, all those hours.
What a humbling moment for him.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you, if we could break it down, like what are 3 good tips for like someone starting out?
Be super open, be super positive. Golf is a very unique sport where you can't get down on yourself, because like I said, it's a whirlwind. So even when you're having a bad day, you just got to take things in perspective. And I saw this really great video, and the caption is like, what it is a privilege to like whiff a ball, what is it a privilege to hit a ball out of bounds, and like it really is a privilege, because like when you're out here on the golf course, you like realize you could be doing so many other things, but like you're enjoying yourself, you're taking time out of your day to just like have fun and like be yourself. So that's one thing, just being open, being positive about it. Another thing, find a community, find someone, become friends with strangers sometimes, like, and not saying that like, you know, some random guy that comes up to you and tries to give you swing advice, but like, you know, somebody that like really made your day, like people in the pro shop, right? Like I said, they're the second family. So like people that are always, you know, checking in on you, wanting to make you better, wanting to make sure you've had everything, you feel confident and you feel yourself like in the environment. Because that's another big thing when it comes to golf. And then I guess not overly investing in the sport, because I've seen beginners go full out, like $5,000 set, and I'm like, you didn't even know what you just purchased.
That's wild that it can get that expensive.
No, it get even worse. And like,
even more.
There's one guy that I met. He spent and like when I tell you he's beginner, and bought pretty much everything imaginable. And like, there's some things that I'm looking at him like, I don't even have those things. And like, you know, I do this for a living, but he just, you know, thought that that's all the things that he needed, but just realizing like, you'll figure out what works for you. Even when it comes to a golf setup, like some people, and even this is still kind of the case, but they don't believe in like mixed sets. So like, you know, having different brands in your bag, but realizing that, yeah, every brand is like unique and like specialized in their own like type of way. Cause like some people have obviously specifically come out and they're like, you know, the best club maker or the best iron makers, the best, you know, golf ball out there. So just realizing like whatever you want to put in the bag, like put in the bag, like, you know, don't be scared because somebody's going to like judge you or something. Mm-hmm. Iron covers, I'm going to judge you. Just saying, but
what's so ugly about them? Because
they're just not needed. It's like not that they're ugly, it's just not needed. Like, and then when I see them on the golf course, I was like, okay, so this is why, you know, you lost them, because like you didn't need them.
There's too many to keep track
of. You just don't. I would say the only time that I would ever use iron coverage is if I'm traveling, because obviously I want to protect, because like, you know, some people just throw your golf bag. But like when you're on the golf course, right? Like imagine how much time you're spending taking that, like, you know, cover off, and then obviously you hit your shot, and then you gotta definitely clean your clubs. You clean your clubs, and then you like put it back on. Like every single time you're doing that, just taking up unnecessary seconds. That you could be doing something else, but yeah, I would never encourage iron covers.
I never thought of that part, like actual like having to remove them and put them back. Yeah.
And remember them too. Like I said, like a lot of them just happen to fall off. Like you could just be riding your golf cart and then woof.
Yeah, that's how I lose my head covers. They just disappear on me. I forget to like put them back on.
So you just like put them on top
I just
of
like put it, I stuff it somewhere. And then next thing you know, I'm like, where's my head cover? And then I see someone like waving in it. I'm like, oh,
hey, at least people are kind enough to return them. Like that's the key. Like if you have like,
for the most part,
because I've seen a lot of things go missing, especially if it's like a really like lucrative type item. Like
I lost a rangefinder one time.
Yeah, rangefinder, popular.
Never got it back.
Yeah, that's popular.
You know, like, you know, the earth will return me a rangefinder.
Yeah, no, for real. And like and there's so many golf courses, like I won't name exactly the golf courses, but they have a bunch of rangefinders that are just kind of like sitting there, and like nobody's come to claim them, because like obviously they don't know where they lost them at. But yeah, there's so many rangefinders that have lost their owners.
Yeah,
like, that's a common thing.
And they just hold on to them, right?
Yeah.
Is it like 1 year and then that's it?
No, sometimes it's forever.
Oh, there's hope. I'm going to visit all the golf courses and look for my rangefinder.
Yeah, sometimes they're just collecting dust. And like I said, even if it's not your rangefinder, right? Like, let's say it's been sitting there for like over a year or so. Like some golf courses be like, hey, did you want this rangefinder? It's been sitting here. Like, we don't need it. So
nice.
Yeah, it's kind of just generosity of people.
Yeah, spread the love.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Okay. And then, I was curious. Like, when you break down practicing, like say I need to go practice, should I only be focusing on one thing, like putting, chipping, driving range? Or is it okay to like spend, that practice session doing all of them?
Yeah, I would definitely say diversify your practice. Obviously if I'm on the driving range, don't have like a million swing thoughts in your mind. That's not okay. But and don't hit your entire, I will never tell anybody to hit your entire bag. There's 14 clubs in the bag, and obviously one being a putter, but like if you hit all 13 on the range, like what are you doing?
Oh, okay.
Because that's
Note
just not,
to self.
it's not needed. Like, even when you talk to like pros, right? And I even have this one golf coach at one point. He was saying, he was like, yeah, you have like even and odd days. So like, you might hit your even clubs, you might hit your odd clubs. But when you like go through the breakdown of like a pro's routine, right? Let's say they start, and some people don't even start with their wedges, but like let's say they start with their wedges, right? They might go through the 60, 56, whatever other wedges they have in the bag. But at the end of the day, right, it's not like they're hitting every single club. They'll specifically hit clubs in which they know they're going to hit that day. And then when it comes to like the woods, they're only hitting that a couple times because one, they're trying to, save their endurance, but at the same time too, like, you're rarely hitting those clubs. Like when you're out there, you're scoring clubs or your irons. So like that's where you put a lot more focus on.
Okay. Oh man, I feel like I need to write that down. Because I don't really have like a method to my practice. I just kind of show up and I'm like, try all of them. But obviously, the more I'm improving, the more I can see like, oh, I really need to focus on my 7.
Yes.
Or, definitely my driver, pitching wedge and all that. So good to know.
And the biggest way to progress is like keeping stats. So like, let's say you were to go out on the golf course today, trying to figure out like, okay, how many putts did I have? And like, a good, at least for a good player, like 30 to about 33 putts is like a pretty good range. Like this is entire 18 holes. Because obviously you're not really expected to hit every single green, but if you do hit every single green, there's certain exceptions to how close you would want to be in proximity to the hole. But I'd say the biggest thing, like trying to figure out, okay, like, do I spend all my time with driving? Okay, well, how many fairways do you hit? Do you duck hook them? Do you hit them out of bounds? Like, where can I improve my game just so that it cuts down a couple of strokes, even just 10, 15 strokes? Because, if you spend all your time at the driving range, you're not going to get that much better than you think.
Good to know.
Yeah.
You mentioned, like, keeping track. I just now started using my scorecard to like track what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So that's very exciting to me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Moving up in the world?
Yeah. I now have like putting, right? And then like fairway.
Okay.
Or, I label it fairway. But
got it. Nice.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I mean, fairways hit.
Yeah, fairways hit. I don't take into account like where it landed.
Yeah.
I'll get there.
That's up.
Yeah, but how should we be breaking it down? Like, what should we be looking at? Like, am I doing it right?
For
Could
the
I be
most
doing
part,
it better?
Like, okay, so there's different levels of how you could, like, keep stats. And, like, if you take one of my classes, I'd actually go in more into depth. But for the most part, just figuring out, like, how many times you're hitting certain clubs and how are they performing based on each time that you hit them. So, like, putts is a super big thing. I'd say as a beginner, like, look at how many putts you're actually taking. Because, like, I feel like when you first start out with putting, like, everybody just, like, their distance is off or it's a little bit like inconsistent. So just realizing, okay, like, could I, save some strokes by not 3-putting or like, putting myself in a better position, like, on the greens. Like, that's just my biggest thing when it comes to saving some strokes.
Good. Yeah. Okay, good. I just got a new putter.
Nice. What kind?
It's a Lucky.
I've heard of that.
It just look okay. To be honest, I got it because it's pretty.
That's another thing too. Do not get clubs. Okay, so here's how I should say it.
Because they're pretty.
You can get so like the putter's an exception, right? Because a putter is all about like confidence. So like just how you stand and like look over the ball. Like if you feel confident over the ball, more oftentimes you're gonna make it. But when it comes to like the rest of the set, right? Don't just because like I've worked for Callaway as well, so like don't just get clubs that look like super pretty and like catch your eye and you're like, hey, or like, Tiger Woods played these clubs, so I'm gonna play these clubs. Like you gotta realize like Tiger Woods, like every single club manufacturer that worked with him made it specifically like his certain specs. So if you can get fit for clubs. But yeah, the putter's super unique. I've had like the 2 Fang type grips, the Phil Mickelson type putter. Like I've even had this it's called like a big fat type grip. I no longer have that putter anymore. Okay. But you like realize it's like whatever you're confident with, and then don't try. That's the one thing with putters. Don't try to switch them out too often. I feel like with other clubs, obviously they're gonna get worn out, but like your putter, that should just stay with you because that's your confidence. Like you talking about having like bad days. If you can make some putts, that changes the entire mood. Like,
yeah. It's true. So I did get it because it's pretty.
Nice.
But it turns out it's a good putter.
Yeah, no, facts.
Yeah, and so I'm really happy about that. And yesterday I made like this super long putt and it was the most beautiful thing. And I was like, yes, finally, I'm getting somewhere. But the only reason I got a new putter is because someone brought it to my attention that I'm using a junior's putter.
Oh.
So I'm tall. I'm like 5'7". I'm not that tall. But my putter would be like here, and then I'd be gripping it like at the very tippy top. And so it was just like this awkward thing. And like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that until someone pointed it out to me. They're like, you have a junior's size? And I'm like, oh.
But like that's like the tradition.
Oh.
That's like a common thing with pros. Like they have putters that are like shorter than like your standard putters. Because it's honestly just based on your stance. So I don't know if you know how Michelle Wee used to stand. It's like, I don't know, 5-6 years back, something like that. It was like the tabletop thing. So she couldn't have a super long putter because that would end up getting in the way of her abdomen. But yeah, it's all about what you're comfortable and then how you're standing. So
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, happy to report.
nice.
It did help.
Nice.
And the rest of my clubs, I got them on OfferUp for
Nice.
like $60. They're
Definitely recommend. That's a good plug.
definitely good for beginners to buy used.
Absolutely.
I'm now at a place where I know that these are not for me because they're a men's flex, so they're heavy and
Got it.
hard, and I'm like, I could be doing so much better. So I am in the market for that, and I hope to get fitted because I've heard both. Get fitted, you don't need to get fitted. I think where I'm at, I think I want to get fitted.
Yeah,
because I want to
absolutely.
invest
For sure,
in
for sure.
a good set.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. So what else do you have going on? Anything in the future planned?
A lot of things, honestly.
Anything
It's
you
like,
can reveal? Are we holding on?
Yeah. Can't reveal anything. I mean, obviously, if you follow me on social media, you'll find out about it.
Where can we follow you?
Yeah, so it's miss.growthegame. If you follow me on that, that's the business account. And then obviously, if you want to truly get to know me, it's my personal account. That's on private right now. So
So you'll have to be
whether or not we
accepted.
whether or not we make it public, we'll see. But yeah, it's just like I like it like that.
And on your Miss Grow the Game, you have your lesson. You announce your lessons, all that.
Yeah, so like I have my own website. Obviously, you can check out all the rates, all the details, any new events, any new programs I have coming about. But yeah, the social media is where you can like see stuff physically and be like, okay, this is what she does, or like this is what she's inspiring to do, or like this is what people have taken from it. Because I think it's like one thing to be like, yeah, you're a golf coach, but then like to see like it's a lot bigger, like I said, than golf. So like you like realize you're like, I'm like changing people's lives at this point. Like I might as well be a doctor.
Yeah, you are. No, it's amazing. I think that's what's so cool about you. Like you're young and you're in this and you're helping the youth kind of find their voice through this, whether they stick to it or not.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's life lessons that can be learned.
Facts.
Super
Facts.
cool. Yeah. I got to join in on one of your events.
Oh,
It was night golf. That was a lot of fun.
Hoping to bring that back sometime soon.
Yeah, that was cool. And I got to meet, I think some of your students were there.
Yep, some of my students
some
were
of the
there.
youth were there. And
Actually, like, I'd say out of all the like quote unquote students that I teach, those are like my kids, quote unquote, that came out.
Yeah.
So I've like personally taken them under my wing, and like I said, like I don't just teach them golf, so it's a lot more about like life and like mentoring and like just kind of like picking their brains to see where their mindset is at, because like they're at different stages. Like one is about to go off to college, one we just got her workout program. She's about to, start middle school. One's about to start high school. Like, there's a lot of like different stages where they're at right now. But I think it's cool that like, they had fun coming out to that. Obviously they supported, they cared, and they, wanted to see what it was about. But I do want to make it that it's like, not just that, you've ever played golf before. Like I want it to be one of those things where it's like, let's say you happen to be, I guess that's a football or a baseball field over there, and you're like seeing all these flashing lights. Like that's, I kind of want that to be the atmosphere of like, let's try out something new. Like that's what I want.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to mention or bring up?
I don't know. What would you tell viewers from being like a beginner and then like your experience with coaches? Like what would you recommend? What is something that, you wish you could go back and like do again? Something along those lines?
I think for me, I don't think I'd be where I'm at with golf today if I didn't find a community. Because, I mean, I'm a very shy, introverted person. I'm not someone that can feel comfortable easily in new spaces. So when I became interested in golf and I saw that there was an opportunity, a community of women specifically, I felt like that was a safe space for someone like me. And it worked out for me. I that first day I went to the driving range. I had never hit a golf club. I was so stiff. I was like this. I'm like, am I doing this right? But everyone there was so welcoming and warm, and so that was really helpful to me. And so now, although I'm still new, there are people who are now interested in golf within my own world who've never done it and they want to get into it. And so now I kind of get to spread that to them
for sure.
and be welcoming and provide that safe space. So it's been nice. I definitely think community is where it's at.
Absolutely, that's true.
It comes down to it. Because even when you feel like you're failing miserably, someone's there to cheer you on.
That's very true. Yeah.
And so get yourself some cheap clubs. Find somewhere, you know, whether it's your local golf club. Because most courses have some sort of like education program, right? For the most part.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, it kind of just depends. So like I would say there's a lot more junior programs than adult programs.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, and like it's growing. So like LPGA program that I'm part of, it's a really great like organization where they have Invite Her, so it's a lot more of like, you know, instruction and just you know, a social gathering as well of really just bringing women from very different backgrounds. I mean, I've taught architects to realtors to, I mean, you name it, just a lot of people out in the business world. The game of golf, and them having never been exposed to it, like they love it now, and like, you know, they have coworkers as well, so now they have, you know, a built-in group of like, hey, we've tried golf, let's try it again, you know, that sort of thing. So that's really cool to see that, like, you know, the LPGA is like really making a standpoint of like, it's not just the tour that they're focused on, like they're also focused on teaching, you know, the next coming generations and all the different, you know, demographics that want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I think the world is finally paying attention to women's sports.
They are indeed.
And they are investing in it, and I think that's what we're getting to see.
Absolutely.
And it's nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Facts.
Okay. So we can follow you on Miss.
Yeah, so it's ms dot then grow the game. But yeah, honestly, if you just type in my name, so it's Kendel, I can spell it. Kendel, and then Abrams is ABR, M as in Mary, and then S. That's like my name. So both things will pop up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll pop up. And then we're trying to go pro?
Yeah, so like technically I'm already considered a pro. I had to give up my amateur status in order to like teach for a living.
Oh.
But yeah, technically since I've teach for a living and then already played in a professional event and claimed my professional status, I am a pro. Not a touring pro quite yet because you know I don't tour that much. But yeah, I do want to like get back to that and be like, okay, this is where I can be, like this is where I was. And just really see, I mean, now that I've learned a lot more new things, just taking a different perspective of golf, where it can actually take me.
Nice. I hope to see you on TV.
Thank you.
Winning.
Thank you. Absolutely. Yes. No, that is the goal.
Yeah.
That is the goal.
Well, I'm super excited for you. I think you have such an amazing future ahead of you. And I can't wait to see and hear. I already follow you, so I'm already like, see,
that's the thing too. It's like being more of an adult, you like realize that like, you know, you can't post everything. There are certain things that like, you know, you just kind of like got to keep. And like, I think that's the thing. Like, you appreciate more things that you do keep to yourself. But like those that like, you know, I've been around or, you know, have met throughout my path are like, no, like you need to like, you know, go full throttle with this. Like you gotta, you know, you gotta show them the good, the bad, and the ugly. And like realizing when I first started my business, like just how crazy it was and how of an absurd idea it was, but how many people like still to this day support and believe that like it's gonna happen and like my golf academy in the future, like it's gonna be full swing. So yeah, I feel like having those cheerleaders, it kind of like puts you like it humbles you, but then it also like puts you back into a place of like, okay, I'm not in this alone. Even though like I feel like I'm in this alone, it's like more of like everybody is starting to see the big picture. So like I just got to keep feeding into it and like keep my head on strong.
Yeah, and people are rooting for you.
Yes,
yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for
being
here and braving the cold California weather.
This is not cold to me. If you were on the East Coast, you'd be shivering.
It's a strong 54.
Super, very warm.
Yeah, but thank you for taking the time. I know we had a rough first shoot, but
I thought that was fun.
It was fun. It was a learning. We were actually over on hole 10.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was really cool. Maybe,
the blimp.
hopefully we have some clips that did survive.
Yeah.
So we can share those. But yeah, thank you so much, Kendel.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
See ya.